Yes, we are live. We can start now.
Very, very good evening, my dear viewers from across India and those who are hooked into our bandwagon from across the world. I greet all of you on this unique and spectacular bandwagon of Education Pe Charcha, as you all would appreciate the fact that Education Pe Charcha is equivalent to educating the nation, in as much as we keep on inviting all esteemed people, all sort of very, very esteemed achievers in the myriad field of specialization. Last time, my dear viewers, if you people can recall, we invited one of the pioneer researchers in the field of Makana, apart from being a very renowned educationist, Professor Vidya Babu. And today we do have really a bestowal of divine grace, in as much as we have invited a doyen of education. A professor of physics, a stalwart professor of physics, the man who single-handedly contributed to thousands of students qualifying in IIT examinations. So you can well understand one of the toughest examinations in Asia, that is Indian Institute of Technology. To crack the examination of IIT itself is a big, big achievement. And the man today, our very, very honorable and esteemed guest, Dr. Professor Shri, that Braj Mohan Mishra ji really has been, what you can say, a really sort of doyen in the field of IITians, because he had ensured that IIT aspirants qualify in huge number in IIT, and that too when Super 30 of Anand Kumar and all these big big institutes were nowhere in picture. Professor Braj Mohan Mishra ji was instrumental behind the fulfillment of aspiration of scores of IIT aspirants. My dear viewers, you all know this is Vivekananda, an author, academician, and a public intellectual, the convener of Education Pe Charcha. Of course, this particular program is conducted under the aegis of Professor Dr. Surendra Pathak ji, who is a very, very valued partner of this program, an adjunct professor of Mahatma Gandhi University in Ahmedabad, and of course, technical assistance rendered to us Pathak ji, and poster by Mr. Chandran Rao. So, my dear viewers, today it happens to be the 46th session on Education Pe Charcha, wherein, as I already gave you an introduction, we do have the privilege to host one of the doyens of education, a stalwart professor of physics, to Professor Braj Mohan Mishra ji. My dear viewers, I need to tell you one thing, that myself being from commerce, of course, from chartered accountancy and MBA finance background, having also taught management courses in the past, I do have a tremendous or a special respect for those who are experts in the field of physics and mathematics, because I always nursed some sort of phobia for both mathematics as well as physics. I recall one situation where I got stuck while reading one of the very, very important books of Deepak Chopra, because I could not negotiate with all sort of concepts of physics. And that day, really, I tell you, I extremely regretted my lack of adequacy of understanding of physics. So therefore, today we do have a tremendous amount of privilege and a pleasure to host, one of the doyens of physics, really a venerable professor of physics, Professor Braj Mohan Mishra ji. Sir, I very much welcome you on this august platform of Education Pe Charcha. And hereby, I just put this very, very important question before you, sir. The very first question goes in this way. Sir, and let me tell you, my dear viewers, just a little more about sir. As I already told you, he is a venerable professor of physics, former director of Women's Institute of Technology, Darbhanga, and of course, the man who was, as I already informed you, instrumental behind the success of thousands of IIT aspirants. That has been the fundamental hallmark of his success as a great professor of that particular region of Mithila. Now, sir, I'm coming to the very first question. Sir, walking down the memory lane, could you dig out some important incidents, in the past, to share with our viewers that how they shaped your future career as a professor of physics? So I now invite Dr. Shri Braj Mohan Mishra ji to come on dais and to share with us about some past incidents of his sophomoric days, which shaped his career as as a stalwart professor of physics. Sir, your turn, your take, please, sir. Professor Braj Mishra ji. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Sir, please. You understood my question? Sir, you understood my question?
No.
Sir, actually, I was okay. I was just telling you. I was just telling you. Is my voice audible to you, sir?
Yes, now audible.
Okay, sir. My question goes in this way: that walking down the memory lane, could you please dig out some important incidents, in your sophomoric days or during your sophomoric days, means during your students' days, to share with our viewers, few of such important incidents that shaped your future career as a professor of physics. Your take on this, sir. Please, Professor Braj Mishra ji, sir.
I am coming from a rural village. My father was an established farmer. He was wanting that I should be an engineer. After passing my intermediate examination, he was dedicated, but my dedication was to be a lecturer, because one was Arun Kumar Mishra in botany in CM Science College. While I was a student of class 9, I had visited CM Science College with my father. Mr. Arun Mishra was my relation. I saw the campus, I saw Dr. L.K. Mishra, I saw how they are administrating the institution. That day I decided that I shall devote myself to be a lecturer. Particularly in physics, I was interested in both mathematics and physics. But fortunately, I was selected in LS College in physics department, and that is why I got my honors and MSc from LS College, Muzaffarpur. There, I suffered a little because there was no vacancy in Mithila University. 9 or 8 teachers had been transferred from LS College to CM Science College, and posts were filled. In 1972, when LN Mithila University was established, there became an advertisement, and I got a chance to be a teacher in CM Science College. I served this institution for near about 27 years. And after that, university transferred me as head of the Department of Physics in Mithila University campus. And I served there for 5 years. After retiring from there, I visited my daughter's residence at America, and I visited several institutions in America, and I learned more things about physics from there. I returned to India after 6 months, and I joined WIT as director. Those days, WIT had no its campus, had no teachers, and the students were 2 years late. Their examinations were not held since last 2 years. I joined there, and I firstly appointed Vice Chancellor, authorized me to appoint the teachers, at least 10 in the department. So I appointed 10 teachers from my student side. They were working as engineers in different places in Delhi, in Bangalore, and many places in India. I requested them to come and to join as a lecturer here, though I was paying little than Bangalore and Delhi, but they thought to be at home. So that is why they joined it, and I did my best for the last 4 years. After retiring from there, again I went to America for 6 months and came back. Dr. L.K. Mishra had one Institute of Business Management, and he appointed me as the Director Administration in IBM Bela. If you will visit that campus, you will be surprised that Darbhanga has such a gracious building and students, teachers, and it is running very well. so it performs well in the university. This is about my career. I performed my research work myself in 1984 under the supervision of Dr. S.K. Singh at LS College, Muzaffarpur. And I guided, supervised 6 students for the PhD degree. And they have been placed in they are placed better than myself in Patna Science College, in LS College, in CM Science College, etc.
Thanks a lot, sir. So, my dear viewers, you heard about the background of one of the very, very stalwart professors. Today, we are, as I already informed all of you, that we are privileged to host one of the stalwart professors who contributed not only, who contributed to the scores of students, not graduating into the physicist, but also contributed to such scores of students qualifying in IIT. And now, as my dear viewers, it is very incumbent on my part to inform all of you, as Honorable Professor Mohan Mishra ji was talking about WIT. We inform my viewers, Women Institute of Technology, he has been talking about. He is one of the women, exclusively this institute is meant for women engineers. And I think there are first of few such engineering institute across India. If I am not wrong, sir would correct me, that in Bihar there is only one women institute for engineering, that is WIT, whose destiny Professor Braj Mohan Mishra ji had presided over in the capacity of the director of the institute. My dear viewers, I would like to remind our esteemed guest and like to inform all of you, during such time when he was presiding over the destiny of WIT, I was privileged to address a seminar in Darbhanga College of Engineering for 3 days. And I think, if I am not wrong, sir at that point in time was presiding over the destiny of WIT, about whom he just spoke to us in such loftiest of terms. And it is justifiably so, because when he took over, as he was absolutely, he was explicating on this, that he invited all his juniors, colleagues and students to come and teach there for the upliftment of the women candidates there in Darbhanga. Especially the rural girls got an opportunity to become an engineer, and that is what he facilitated their smooth transition from that of being a raw material into that of being an engineer. Kudos to you, sir, for doing such a great service to the people of Mithila and people of Bihar and the nation. Now I'm coming to a very important question. Second question. You worked as a professor of physics in colleges in Darbhanga, about which you already said. Why do you think the results in academics are often late, contributing to the students' delayed sessions, and consequently they are losing out vis-a-vis their counterparts in other parts of the country? What do you think is the basic cause behind it? Your take on this, sir.
Sir, the number of students has increased. While I was a student of intermediate, there were only 2 sections in CM Science College. Now there are 5 sections in CM Science College. So number of students have increased 2.5 times more. One thing, we were teachers in CM Science College having a strength of 22 teachers. Presently, there are only 3 teachers. So these 3 teachers are not in a position to complete their courses in time. Neither the students prefer to come to the college, they prefer to go to the private tuitions in different parts of Darbhanga instead of attending the classes in CM Science College. That is why the examinations are disturbed by sometimes by students, sometimes by other employees, sometimes by other unions, and that is why the results are late. University is trying to just streamline it, but it is not possible these days because the sessions are too late. Previous Vice Chancellor had tried his best and he succeeded in just streamlining the session, but it is now again late. So responsibility goes to the students union and to the different political parties. Due to different causes, they just agitate the students, and they themselves make agitation, and the session is delayed.
Thanks a lot, sir, for explicating on this, for elaborating on this very important question. My dear viewers, what sir has said, since he is a part and parcel of the environment, we have to appreciate and endorse and subscribe to his very, his observation, because it is less with wisdom in as much as it comes from his insider's point of view, because he has been a part and parcel of the institute. But I would tell you, my dear viewers, it indeed is a nemesis for the students of the larger area of Mithila, because they suffer, from this malady. It has become an institutionalized malady, and it needs a course correction. And such a stalwart professor who is today, in our esteemed guest for this spectacular show, will have to ensure that the students community do not suffer because of this delayed session, and whatever may be the causes that need to be adequately taken care of. And sir, one more important question comes to my mind. Since you taught, because of course it will come to next question will be there on this, but I would like to know that what is the reason behind, especially I'm talking in terms of science students, those who are aspiring for IITs and NITs, why they skip the regular colleges, and and they tend to take private tuitions. What is the main reason behind it? You are the best person to say that, or to.
Sir, while you and I were students, we were studying for knowledge. Now they are studying for the service, and they are pressurized by the guardians. You do engineering, you prepare for IIT. While I was in charge of CM Science College, I saw that so many students deserving to get only 9 marks in physics and mathematics, they were filling the forms of IIT, only to travel the different parts of India where their centers were. They don't think proper what direction should this. They are good footballers, they are good careerists, they may be good orator, they may be good historian, but they are diverted by the guardian to go engineering, in medical. You just have seen they have been admitted in Ukraine. What was their results? They have come back to India, and they are just praying the government for their adjustment in 3rd year, 4th year. The students coming from the other countries like China, Russia, their fates are hanged. They could not perform better in their profession. The students themselves should decide what way he should choose, but they depend upon the guardians, and mostly the guardians from the rural don't take any interest about their career. They take interest that their son should be engineer or doctor. Only they know these two things, engineering and doctor. There are many ways other than engineering and medical, but they don't think of that. If they will think that it can be other ways also, they will be adjusted anywhere. They don't prefer other jobs other than this. Just see, the students does not know anything, but he is applying for engineering, he is applying for medical. This will be the fate of the students of Michelanchal. Only we shall repeat Mandan, Ayachi, Janki, Jagival, but see the fate of the students. They are loitering to different states for appearing at the examination, only to visit that state, only to visit Bombay, Delhi, Chennai, Bangalore, etc.
Right. Sir, thanks a lot, my dear viewers. The point that sir was trying to explain, of course, it absolutely becomes crystal clear, because I'm also a part of Mithila. I have seen the sort of attitude. This has been the mindset of the people of Mithila or Bihar, that there is a sort of fist of frenzy created around engineering and medical. As sir says, and his words of wisdom are to be appreciated in the very context in which it was those observations were made, that even the students might not be fit for medical or engineering. Nonetheless, the sort of humongous pressure that are being exercised upon the students to go for medical engineering really causes havoc with them. As he has been absolutely particular on this, students going to Ukraine, going to Russia and all these countries for obtaining medical and engineering degrees, now see their fate. Indeed, their fate are hanging in balance. Because when they were trapped in the war, in the ongoing war, there were critics were blaming the government of India that why Mr. Modi is not bringing them. But see, when Prime Minister, by virtue of all his diplomatic skills, when he brought the students back to the country or back in the country, now they have nowhere to go. I'm absolutely in agreement with our esteemed guests today, both in letter and spirit, that their hang are absolutely in balance today because they have no solution. There is no panacea for prescribing or for your explicating on such a subtle yet a delicate issue, that I broached, and you very correctly you responded to it. I'm coming to next question, sir. Now I'm going to sir, you taught students going for IIT, successfully contributed to thousands of students competing IIT in those days. When, as I already informed my dear viewers, when Super 30 of Anand Kumar, all those renowned and prestigious institutes were not there, Professor Braj Mishra ji was the household name. Talk about him in that region, people would say, oh, Braj Mishra ji of physics. That was the brand value that Professor Braj Mishra ji enjoyed during that time. So, sir, please let us know that what was your modus operandi that you applied for teaching the would-be IIT aspirants? Physics being your bastion, your area, did you also teach mathematics to the students? And especially when physics is a very low scoring subject in IIT, how did your students manage to get bumper scores in physics? What exactly was your methodology for teaching the IIT aspirants? Your take on this, sir.
There are certain portions in physics, like mechanics, like electrostatics, like current electricity, modern physics. The students, I was directing them to concentrate on certain chapters. If you want to concentrate on certain chapters, you don't care for the chapters to whom you have not touched it. They were touching magnetism, sound, having at least not more than one question. So I just compelled them to depend upon mechanics, to depend upon optics, to depend upon current electricity and modern physics. Only 4 chapters. So the students just studied these 4 chapters, were competing. I was suggesting that if you pick up some chapter, you just study all the types of questions, all the types of numericals only from those chapters. Don't touch the other chapters. That is why the students were competing, because they were dedicated only to 4 chapters and they were going very thoroughly for those 4 chapters. And that is why they were competing. Some students were seeing the physics from this page to that page, touching every chapter. So there were many questions which were untouched from different chapters. So that is why it was difficult. So I told you, whatever you choose, which chapter you choose, you should not leave anything in that chapter. But if you leave some chapter, you leave it completely. That was the process.
Sir, one thing I would like to know, because you have been an expert in this field, that means as you suggest, and this suggestion is meant for all the students who are IIT aspirants, especially those who are IIT aspirants. Sir, few chapters which you said that need to be concentrated and gone through very comprehensively, whereas there is no need or any importance of reading all the chapters. So your prescription for would-be IIT aspirants is this, that instead of going through the entire chapters comprehensively, they should go for selective preparation. That is what you are prescribing. This is what I
Yes, sir.
understand. Is it true, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So is the same trend, even today, or is this the trend in those days when you were teaching the IIT students?
Yes, sir. I have asked many students, how have you prepared? In my house, there was one student who were directed by me to prepare mechanics, optics, electricity, and modern physics. And he competed in IIT. He competed in many engineering branches. But the students touching all the chapters were missing from admission.
Sir, one thing, questions directly comes to my mind. Why do you think the students are rushing to Kota and other places when, as per your prescription, even if the few chapters can be taught even by some good professors in Darbhanga or in Patna or in some other parts of India, why the students are making a beeline, for going to Kota and, and undertaking the preparation for IITs and NITs? Why there is a special preference for Kota? Your say on this?
It is advertisement by Kota, and it is advertisement by the students who competed from there. You see, there are at least 20 institutes at Kota, and number of students in every institute is not less than 5,000. Out of those, they compete only 50 or 60 in all. From all the 10,000 students, they compete only 50 or 60 students. But they are going to Kota to visit the town and nothing more. And it is the desire of the guardian that you should go to the Kota and you will compete there. But they return and get depressed at his home.
Thanks a lot, sir. My dear viewers, you heard an expert. The comment or the statement was not coming from somebody who can be considered to be a stranger to this field. This comment or observation came from a stalwart professor who himself was instrumental behind the competing of scores of students in IIT and NIT. He says that I'm absolutely in agreement with his prescription, both in letter as well as in spirit, that it is a mere advertisement, a mass scale advertisement that has contributed to such a beeline of students moving towards Kota. And he has very correctly assessed, and his evaluation absolutely appears to be in right course when he says out of 10,000 only 50 or 100 are qualifying, but all the drum beating to such a large scale is contributing towards such a blind beeline or blind movement of students towards Kota. But even staying at your native place under the guidance of a competent professor or a teacher, you can easily compete IIT if there is a particular focus on specific chapters in physics. Because sir would be able to vouch it, because I am not a student of science, but as sir says, and whatever I gather from sir and from other sources, physics has been the most difficult paper in IIT, and the students who just managed to secure few marks just above the cutoff, they come out with the flying colors and they really pass out IIT. So what sir says, it should be taken as a prescription, a valid prescription, that instead of going to Kota or rushing towards other places, they should better stay at their own places and take the guidance of some competent people and concentrate on selective few chapters rather than scattering or dispersing his overall energy into visiting all the chapters, and thereby the preparation is not complete. It is absolutely not a holistic one. So in order to have a holistic preparation from the perspective of examination, the concentration on selective few chapters becomes sine qua non for qualifying in IIT. That should be taken as a prescription from one of the stalwart professors who contributed towards making thousands of IIT aspirants into IITians. That is the bona fide point our esteemed guest has made today for the proper absorption and assimilation of all the IIT aspirants and their guardians too. Thank you, sir. Thanks for making such a valuable suggestion. Sir, I am coming to very next important to next question. Sir, you already focused on it. You already said, spoke about it, but still a question I'm coming with. You were appointed as a director of Women Institute of Technology in Darbhanga. Could you tell our viewers the steps you undertook for the improvement of the students pertaining to their pedagogy, their placement? Because placement is very, very important. It is only on account of placement students are blindly enrolling with a particular institute and abandoning or jettisoning other institutes which do not have a good placement record. So what were your concrete steps towards the placement of your students during the tenure of your presiding over the destiny of the institute, WIT, in the capacity of director? Your take on this, sir.
Sir, this institute was inaugurated by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. The then director from which I took the charge was Mr. M.B. Burma, friend of APJ Abdul Kalam. And Mr. M.B. Burma helped me in just sending the students to different institutions for their industrial training. In ISRO, in Bangalore, in Maharashtra, in Chennai, in different institutions, he managed for their industrial training. And I again requested him to just for their absorption in jobs. So I always requested Mr. M.B. Burma, and by his help, during my 4 years tenure in WIT, in almost 50% of the students were absorbed in different higher institutions, in different higher factories, 50%. And remaining 50% were in different parts of India are still in job. So I thank Mr. M.B. Burma and late Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. By their I tried my level best to put them in service.
Thanks a lot, sir. My dear viewers, our esteemed guest today, who was the director of WIT, Women Institute of Technology, had just now broached or referred to a very, very illustrious name of, Dr. Manas Bihari Burma, the architect of Tejas, the light combat aircraft. Dr. Manas Bihari Burma is no more with us. His first death anniversary was commemorated on 22nd of April. So Dr. Manas Bihari Burma was also the director of WIT, and sir had very respectfully referred to him because he was one of the greatest Indians of for several decades. After, as sir has said about Dr. Kalam, Dr. Manas Bihari Burma was a close associate of Dr. Kalam, and he had already, after his retirement, he had set up a science laboratory in Darbhanga. And I had the privilege of portraying Dr. Manas Bihari Burma as one of the living legends in my pioneer book in the world, The Living Legends of India, so Living Legends of Mithila. So I also had a very close association with Manas Babu. And when our esteemed guest talks about Dr. Manas Bihari Burma in such a glowing terms, I absolutely vouch, and I just absolutely corroborate his remark or his observation about the great man that Dr. Manas Bihari Burma was. Thank you, sir. Thanks for all the steps that you have taken for boosting up the placement for the rural girls, rural women. I hope that the placement must be in a proper shape even today. I'm not very sure about it, because after your departure from there, after the departure of Manas Babu, I don't know who is taking care of the institute, whether the environment is conducive for placement or not. I have no idea, but I think I wish them best from this august platform, that they must be doing something good for the rural girls and rural women who look up to the institute for their sustenance, for their good career. The institute, it is a duty of the institute, a sacred responsibility of the institute to look into their bright future, to assure them whatever their aspirations are, how that aspirations should be taken to logical conclusion. I'm sure the director must be doing the needful. Thanks a lot, sir. I am coming to the next very, very important question. What is your opinion about the girls taking engineering as their career choice? Is WIT capable of fulfilling their professional aspiration? Because normally in rural areas, since you would be corroborating my statement, girls do not have that sort of flair, or you can say that sort of longing for engineering degree. They, on the contrary, prefer medical degree. So what is your experience, because you have been a director of WIT, about the girls' aspiration for graduating into an engineer? Sir, your take on this.
During my period, there were only 60 seats, but the number of applicants were more than 2,000. It was very difficult for me to select 60 out of 2,000. I took examinations very fairly, very correctly, and I just selected 60 students. I asked them, why are you preferring engineering? Why don't you try for medical? For girls, medical is the best. So no, sir, I have interest that I shall get any job in engineering if I do better from this place. So taking in view that they will get good job after completing his engineering, because it was difficult. Medical is still difficult than engineering. So they preferred to be an engineer than to be a doctor.
Sir, you take only interview for selecting students, or some written examination was also institutionalized? What was the procedure?
One written examination of physics, chemistry, and mathematics. There was one cutoff that a student securing 100% in mathematics but fail in physics or chemistry will not be admitted. They should get at least 45% in all the subjects. That was the criteria for admission.
Okay. Great, sir. Great. So, my dear viewers, you have seen that it was not a very smooth sailing for the women getting into WIT, because they had to first clear the first roadblock, that was in terms of entrance examination, which had a cutoff percentage of 55. And once qualifying that, they had to undergo an interview, which too was rigorous, which was not very simple process, because sir was there to assess along with other members about the capability of the students after their qualifying in written examination. So it was a very rigorous process to qualify as a student to pursue their engineering course in WIT. This is what our honored guest today, Professor Braj Mishra ji, is suggesting. Thanks a lot, sir. I'm coming to the very, very important question now. On the basis of your your decades of experience as a professor, as a stalwart professor of physics, where do you think the students of Bihar have disadvantages vis-a-vis the students of other parts of India, especially when the students of Bihar are intelligent students, and given the level playing field, they would have done better? So what steps would you suggest for the improvement of the, say, educational environment of the students of Bihar, especially I'm speaking from the engineering background, so that they can compete with the students of other parts of the country? Your take on this, sir.
Sir, repeat just question, because audio was not clear.
Okay, I'm just repeating my question. I'm reiterating my question. Sir, being you're having served as a distinguished professor of physics for decades together, what sort of environment or facilities you think that should be given to the students of Bihar, so that they can compete adequately with the students, with their counterparts from other states, because they lack infrastructure, they lack good faculty. So what, in your opinion, should be the facilities that should be imparted or afforded to the students to make them more competent? This is my question, sir.
There is lack of teachers in different colleges, particularly in Bihar. I already told that while I was teacher in CM Science College, There were 22 teachers in physics. Now there are only 3. So one deficiency, the appointment of teachers by the Bihar government is not being at par. So there are the number of students are not interested with the teachers because the teachers are only 3. So they are not in a position to engage all the classes throughout. Moreover, one student should be studious instead of being luxurious. So students are not studious. I tell just one example. I had read Newton said in third law, there is a reaction of every action. We repeated just in the class, there is a reaction of every action. Students just read it, but they don't take it in the book. They just want to hear from the teachers. If somebody takes textbook, particularly NCERT books, they must compete. The seats are limited and the number of students are rushing more. There are only 15,000 seats in IIT, but number of students appearing for those examinations are more than 1 lakh. Is it possible to absorb all the lakh students in against 15,000 seats? So one must be studious. They should not go to more to the teachers. The book will help himself. NCERT books are sufficient. If some has any doubt in that book, he should only consult the teachers. But he just goes to the teacher and reads from mechanics to modern physics, every chapter there. So they are not seeing the books. If they will see the book, they will compete.
Thanks a lot, sir, for giving such an important tips, my dear students, especially the students community who are already logged in with us, or who will eventually view this video. Whatever words of wisdom are coming from a stalwart professor of physics, that should be taken at face value. And that should be taken as didactic as well as talismanic. And that should be followed rigorously in practice. Vigorously that should be practiced. So in order to attain success in the field of IITs or any engineering branches. Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir. Now I'm coming to the very, very important question because, sir, you have a limited time. You said to me you have to go to attend to some sort of festivals. Sir, I beg your pardon, some sort of ceremony. You said you'll go to attend. So I'm coming to very next important question straight away. Sir, you are the director of an Institute of Business Management in Darbhanga, about which you already said to me. And if you can recall, possibly it might have faded away from your mind. Once I was in Darbhanga, you took me to that institute and I had delivered a lecture, if you can recall. I came back with you and some other person, and that one lady was the recently appointed director then, so far as my memory goes. I'm talking about so many years back. So by way of recollection, it just came to my mind. So I'm just coming straight away to the question. You played the role of an administrator, of course, that is there, but you were a professor of physics. It was a management institute. So did you also take classes, teach the students any subject, or your role was only as a facilitator in administration? What was your exact role in that business institute? Please, sir.
Dr. L.K. Mishra, an eminent scholar of chemistry and principal of CM Science College, and later the Vice Chancellor of Bihar University, were the president of that institute. He appointed me as the director of administration, and he requested me to engage some computer classes in the BBA and MBA. So I was attending only that computer classes, and administration was my whole work's result. Everything, whatever you see there, that is the campus, that is the building, that is the payment of the teachers, and that was my duty only for administration. So I did there the administrative job only.
Okay, thanks a lot, sir. I'm coming to the next question straight away now, because my dear viewers, as I already informed you, our distinguished guest has to hurry up because he has to go on for a very important, ceremony. Next question, sir. This is something away from, but still a very important, valid question. Sir, you also joined politics for a brief period of time. You joined Janata Dal United of Nitish Kumarji, and a while later, you just walked away, walked out of politics. So why such a quick disillusionment with politics? What was the reason behind it? Because you joined, with so much fanfare, there was an ambition to join politics. But a while later, you felt disillusioned with it and walked out of politics. What was the reason?
Sir, I had nothing interest with the politics up to 89. But in 90, my Dr. Jagannath Mishra requested me to just fight an election for the teachers' constituency, Darbhanga teachers' constituency against Shatrughan Sinha. And I just joined Congress in 90. In 1996, I was in 90, I was defeated by only 12 or 13 votes. Second time, I was not given ticket from Congress. Still, I just stood for the election, and I lost the game again by manipulation by someone in politics. I left Congress party, and Congress also, Sitaram Kesri was the president of All India Congress Committee. He just replaced 6 persons from Congress, Dr. Jagannath Mishra, myself, Bacha Babu, Mahendra Jhajad, and somebody else. Then Dr. Mishra requested me to join JDU. I joined JDU in 2010 or 11. In 2008, some persons from BJP came to my house and requested to again contest election of the teachers' constituency from his party, from BJP. I refused. I told him that I have just attempted twice, but I lost by manipulation, so I am not in a position to fight again. I just told them that I had visited one film, Gumrah. There was a song in that, वो अफसाने जिसे अंजाम तक जाना न हो मुमकिन, उसे एक खूबसूरत मोड़ देकर छोड़ना अच्छा। तो हमने खूबसूरत मोड़ दे दिया है उसको। हम अब इलेक्शन नहीं लड़ेंगे, वैसे किसी पार्टी में तो रहेंगे ही। तो जब when Jagannath Mishra came to BJP, I joined BJP. Now I am in BJP and in better position than Congress and JDU. They know me, every member of MLA, MP, they call me in different meetings. And that is why, what should I do now at the age of 77, 78?
Great, fantastic. So, of course, it's great now what sir says. Now he's with the BJP and he doesn't have any ambition as such. He basically is there to serve the society because as an educationist, he served the society with distinction. And in the capacity of a political worker, he wants to serve the society even, in a better way because he already has a vision. And now he wants to, give a tangible shape to the vision. Of course, in the political domain. So, of course, it is something to be appreciated, especially in case of a doyen of education who, after serving the society with distinction, having contributed towards thousands of students, becoming IIT, now, he gracefully wants to serve the society in the capacity of a politician, and that too, sans any ambition as such. He wants to serve the society, and therefore he is serving in the capacity of a political worker. Thanks a lot, sir. Indeed, you say it's a fantastic because it would come as some sort of learning experience for all those who overnight want to become MLA and MPs. They should draw an inspiration as well as a good lesson that politics does not only mean to become MLA or MP, but it really, in all sincerity, it means to serve the society, and to serve the society does not need any political position as such. Great revelation and great learning experience, which I think people by and large will follow your prescription. Great, sir. I am coming to the last question now, very, very important. Sir, you are a stalwart professor of physics, we all know, and we salute you from this august platform of education by Charcha for all your glorious accomplishments to your credit, undeniably. Now, I would like you to give a message to the student, to the IIT aspirants, as to how they can succeed in their mission to become an IITian, as well as the students of other science background or commerce, say students in general, as to what path they should follow so that they finally become successful in their life. Your take on this, sir, please.
They should be studious. They may be engineer, they may be doctor, but they should be a good man, a good human. India needs, there are many doctors, there are many engineers, but India needs a human. So one must be a manav, a human, a person with good character, to a good nationalist and nothing more. For IIT, they should be studious.
Great, sir. So basically, my dear viewers, what our august guest today has prescribed, that even before you become a professional, even before you qualify in any examination whatsoever, you must be a good human being. In fact, to be a good human being is a precursor to, to obtaining any professional degree. Because if you are not a good human being, even though you might be a very good professional, but all your professionalism, all your professional excellence absolutely comes to a big knot if you are not a good human being. That is the prescription of our very, very distinguished guest today, that is professor, a senior professor of physics, a stalwart professor of physics, Dr. Braj Mohan Mishra ji. My dear viewers, before I just pass on the mic to Shri Surendra Pathak ji, Professor Surendra Pathak ji, for quickly translating our today's transcript of conversation, a scintillating conversation, with our stalwart professor of physics into Hindi. I would like to make a very important announcement. In our next hour education Charcha, instead of being on next Saturday on 21st, it will be on 20th, Friday at 7 p.m. And our distinguished guest is Professor Nand Kumar, Vice Chancellor of Ara University, Professor Nand Kishore Sahab. He is the Vice Chancellor. He was of Ara University. He is going to be our distinguished guest, not on Saturday, but on Friday at 7 p.m. On 20th, on Friday at 7 p.m., we are going to have a distinguished guest, Professor Vice Chancellor Nand Kishore Saji. But today we have had a distinguished professor, a stalwart professor of physics, whose hallmark of success was being instrumental in terms of enabling scores of students to qualify IIT examination. It is a time for Professor Surendra Pathak ji, because our distinguished guest has to go to participate in some important ceremony. But therefore, I would like Professor Surendra Pathak ji to quickly come and translate our today's scintillating conversation, very productive, efficacious conversation into Hindi. Professor Surendra Pathak ji, please. Dr. Surendra Pathak ji, sir.
जी नमस्कार.
नमस्कार सर.
प्रोफेसर मिश्रा, आपको बहुत बहुत मेरी तरफ से नमस्कार और प्रणाम.
आपको भी सर.
जो आपने जो अंतिम मैसेज दिया वो बहुत ही अच्छा लगा मुझे, कि शिक्षा का जो मूल उद्देश्य भी यही होना चाहिए कि अच्छे ह्यूमन बीइंग तैयार हो सकें. प्रोफेशनलिज्म अपनी जगह एक उसकी उपयोगिता होती है, लेकिन उससे ज्यादा जरूरी इस समय समाज में अच्छे ह्यूमन बीइंग की आवश्यकता है, क्योंकि शिक्षा जिस तरीके से संस्कार देने के काम के लिए होना चाहिए थी, वो शायद पूरी तरह से हो नहीं पाया है. और इसके कारण से जो पढ़े लिखे लोग हैं वो समाज में एक समस्या के रूप में भी सामने आ रहे हैं. जैसे दुनिया में देखते हैं कि जितना भी बड़ी प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, उन प्रॉब्लम के पीछे जो टेक्नोलॉजी का विवेकहीन जो प्रयोग हुआ है, उसके कारण से समस्याएं पैदा हुई हैं. और आप एक फिजिक्स के इतने रिनाउंड प्रोफेसर हैं, और आपने जब ये संदेश दिया तो मुझे बहुत ही प्रसन्नता हुई. कि ऐसा ही एक प्रोफेसर को और शिक्षक को होना चाहिए। दूसरा, जब आपने अपना वक्तव्य शुरू किया था, मैं बीच में थोड़ा विलंब से ज्वाइन कर पाया क्योंकि नेटवर्क का समस्या था यहाँ पे, लेकिन आपने कहा कि कुछ लोग ज्ञान के लिए शिक्षक होते हैं और कुछ केवल नौकरी करते हैं। तो जैसे आपने ज्ञान की प्रतिष्ठा को बढ़ाने के लिए और उनके द्वारा समाज में कोई एक नया परिवर्तन लाने के उद्देश्य से आपने अपनी बौद्धिक क्षमताओं का, प्रतिभा का जो है उपयोग किया, ये एक अपने में भी तृप्ति देता है और शिक्षा परंपराओं में भी एक प्रेरणा का कारण बन जाता है। इस प्रकार से आपने WIT दरभंगा में जिस प्रकार से डायरेक्टर के रूप में काम किया और बच्चियों को प्रोत्साहित किया, और उसके कारण से धीरे धीरे हम लोग ऐसा देख रहे हैं कि पिछले कुछ वर्षों में लड़कियों की संख्या जो है इंजीनियरिंग के क्षेत्र में काफी सकारात्मक रूप से बढ़ी है। तो उस की पृष्ठभूमि में आप जैसे प्रोफेसर लोगों का ही योगदान है, जिन्होंने प्रेरित करके लड़कियों को भी IT के इंजीनियरिंग के क्षेत्र में उनको अपना कैरियर चुनने के लिए प्रेरित किया और एक वातावरण निर्मित किया। और उसके कारण से आज हम लोग IITs में भी देखते हैं कि काफी बड़ी संख्या में अब लड़कियों का प्रवेश जो है, लड़कियां आ रही हैं। और ये जरूरी भी है, मुझे लगता है कि एक संतुलन बनाने के लिए लड़के और लड़कियों का रेशियो जो है लगभग 50% के आसपास ही होना चाहिए। से एक संतुलन बनेगा समाज में, और जो दूरी है स्त्री पुरुष को लेकर, जो दूरी है वो भी उससे मिट सकती है। तो बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर, आपने जिस प्रकार से एक आदर्श और एक अच्छे प्रोफेसर के रूप में अपने पूरे जीवन को गुजारा है, एक अच्छे शिक्षक के रूप में, अच्छे प्रोफेसर के रूप में और एक अच्छे ह्यूमन बीइंग के रूप में आपने अपना पूरा कैरियर लगाया है, ये आने वाले समाज को प्रेरित करता रहेगा। और मुझे उम्मीद है कि ये जो इंटरव्यू आज हुआ है, इससे लोग और भी इंस्पिरेशन ग्रहण करेंगे। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर आपका।
पाठक जी, मेरे 4 बच्चे हैं
जी।
बड़ी बेटी डॉक्टर है पटना में,
जी जी।
उससे छोटी बेटी इंजीनियर है, अमेरिका में है। उससे छोटी बेटी वह डॉक्टर है, दरभंगा में ही।
जी
और
जी।
बेटा है IIT कानपुर से पास करके, वो अमेरिका में था कुछ दिन। एक दिन अचानक कहा कि नहीं, हम भारत में आना चाहते हैं। हम कहे तुम अपने मन से गए थे, अपने मन से चले आओ। अभी वह एक तो कंपनी चला रहा है बेंगलोर में, जिसमें 400 इंजीनियर को बहाली किए हुए।
वाह वाह, बहुत बढ़िया।
हम नौकरी करते तो अकेले नौकरी करते, हमने तो 400 को नौकरी दिया है। मेरी यही उपलब्धि है जीवन का सर, समाज के लिए इसीलिए करते हैं कि समाज में भी लोग ऐसे हों।
देखिए आप
ग्रेट इंडीड, ग्रेट। आई एम सो मच, प्लीज।
जी जी, मैंने कहा कि
we are so grateful to Professor Surendra Pathak ji, being a valued partner of this educational Charcha. He is logging in from Amarkantak today, and that too not know he is in some conference. He had to go out just to listen to this program, and whatever translation, the transcript of today's interview or interaction with our guest today, he has done in such a magnificent way that really deserves salutations. My dear viewers, we are so glad today to have hosted one of the stalwart professors of physics, Professor Mohan Mishra ji. The invaluable time that he has given to us, despite his prior commitments, because he had to go to attend to a ceremony. He had agreed to be a part of today's scintillating session on Education Pe Charcha. I thank him from the bottom of my heart. My dear viewers, again, I do reiterate the announcement which I made a couple of minutes back pertaining to our next guest, that is on Friday. My dear viewers, not on next Saturday, because I'll be traveling on Saturday. Therefore, we are just preceding our session by a day. On Friday at 7 p.m., we are going to have a unique guest again, that is Vice Chancellor, Professor Shri Dr. Nand Kishore Sahaji is going to be a very, very esteemed guest of ours for our next show. But today we, salute the venerable professor of physics, Dr. Shri Braj Mishra ji, for illuminating our discussion, on education pe Charcha. It was a unique, spectacular session. I thank all my viewers for gracing and blessing education pe Charcha. I thank our esteemed guest again for gracing and blessing today's spectacular show. Our valued partner, Dr. Shri Surendra Pathak ji, Sarbe ji, and of course Chandra Rao. With that, I return you to the studio with a commitment to be back again on next Friday on 20th, again at 7 p.m. Till then, good night.